Are you solving the problem your agents actually have, or the one that's easiest for your business to package? That question can save a leader months of work and a lot of money. It can also explain why a program that looked good in the planning meeting barely gets used once it reaches the team. I've seen this happen with CRMs, training calendars, lead systems, transaction support, and accountability programs. The leader sees a gap, builds a solution, rolls it out, and waits for adoption. Then usage comes in lower than expected. The first reaction is usually to improve the rollout. Add another training, send more reminders, make the process mandatory. Sometimes the original diagnosis was incomplete. Experienced agents often know the outcome they want before they know what structure will get them there. They may want leverage around the work that drains time while keeping control of their client relationships, standards, and brand. If a leader starts by presenting a finished solution, the agent can only react to the vehicle. Ask about the destination first. What are they trying to make easier, safer, or more consistent? Leaders often feel pressure to arrive with answers. You're carrying the standard, the budget, the client experience, and the reputation of the business. People expect you to make decisions. That pressure can shorten the discovery process. A request comes in, and your mind moves straight to a solution. The market around us adds to that temptation. The National Association of Realtors reported that 59% of respondents in its 2025 technology survey were using some emerging technology while still learning it. 66% said saving time was a primary reason for adopting technology, and 64% pointed to improving the client experience. Those are useful goals. A tool still needs a clearly defined job inside the business. If you lead a team or brokerage like this video, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment telling us one support system your people actually use. Your answer may help another leader recognize a pattern inside their own business. This is the kind of leadership problem Real Edge Network is built around. Good leaders still benefit from practical support and experienced relationships when a decision gets complicated. The leader owns the call. A useful network gives them more experience to draw from before they make it. Here's the listening loop I'd use before building the next support program. Ask for the outcome, map the recurring friction, choose the smallest useful response, and close the loop. 4 moves. Each one keeps the leader close to the work without taking the business away from the people doing it. Start with the outcome. Agents usually describe a solution first because that's easier to name. We need a different CRM. We need more leads. We need another admin. Those requests may be accurate. Your job is to understand what success would look like if the request were granted. Ask questions that make the work visible. What keeps getting pushed to the end of the week? Where does a client handoff get uncertain? Which part of the business depends on memory? What result are you trying to protect? Then stay with the answer long enough to understand it. A leader who asks one question and starts prescribing has collected a headline. A useful diagnosis takes a few follow-ups. The setting affects the answer too. A broad question in a team meeting tends to produce broad responses. People take cues from whoever speaks first, and some of your most experienced agents may stay quiet because they don't want to turn the meeting into a complaint session. Short one-on-one conversations usually reveal more. Ask about one recent transaction, one missed opportunity, or one moment when the agent had to create a workaround. Specific memories give you something you can examine. You can make that rhythm manageable. Pick 5 people who represent different ways of working inside the business. Give each conversation 15 minutes. Use the same core questions, then follow the details wherever they lead. At the end, write down the desired outcome and the friction in plain language. If you can't explain the problem in 2 sentences, keep listening. You may discover that the CRM request is really about inconsistent follow-up after an open house. The lead request may point to a conversion problem. The admin request may come from a handoff with unclear ownership. Once the desired outcome is clear, you can separate the visible request from the operating friction underneath it. Next, map the recurring friction. One complaint can be real and still be isolated. A pattern deserves a different response. Look for where the same delay, dropped handoff, or repeated question shows up across several people or several transactions. Keep a simple record for 30 days. You're looking for frequency and consequence. Frequency gives you one side of the decision. Consequence gives you the other. A task that annoys everyone for 5 minutes may need a quick process adjustment. A rare mistake that puts a client relationship or compliance deadline at risk deserves immediate attention. Leaders get into trouble when the loudest complaint automatically becomes the first project. A simple map helps you put energy where the business carries the most exposure. This part takes judgment because your agents won't all need the same support. An established individual agent may want leverage around transactions while protecting a personal brand. A newer agent may need clearer standards and more frequent coaching. A growing team may need stronger handoffs between roles. Listening helps you see those differences before a single system flattens them into one experience. Listening informs the decision. Accountability stays with the leader. You may hear 5 different preferences and choose a 6th option because it protects the client experience or fits the economics of the business. Say that clearly. People can respect a decision they didn't choose when they understand the standard behind it and can see that their experience was considered. Gallup's workplace research gives leaders a useful parallel. Its January 2026 Span of Control report says weekly meaningful feedback nearly triples the percentage of engaged employees. Real estate teams can include independent contractors, employees, and several operating models, so that number doesn't transfer cleanly to every brokerage. The practical signal still holds. Frequent conversations give a leader better information than an annual survey or an occasional crisis. Now choose the smallest useful response. This is where disciplined leaders save time. The answer may be a clearer standard, a better introduction, a repaired handoff, or a short test of a tool. Technology earns its place when it removes friction you can name and measure. A support program earns its place when people can tell what it helps them do. Define the test before the rollout. Name the people involved, the behavior that should change, the result you'll watch, and the date you'll review it. If the goal is faster listing launches, decide what faster means and which part of the timeline you control. If the goal is more consistent follow-up, identify the actions that should happen and how you'll confirm they happen. A vague goal can make any tool look successful for a week. Let's say 3 agents tell you listing launch details are getting lost between the signed agreement and the marketing handoff. You could buy a project management platform that afternoon. You could also map the handoff, name the owner of each decision, and test one checklist on the next 5 listings. That test will show you whether the problem is visibility, ownership, capacity, or the tool itself. The same discipline applies to training. Low attendance may look like a motivation problem. Talk to the people who skipped it. You may hear that the session repeats material they already know, lands during client-heavy hours, or never connects to a decision they're making that week. Each answer points to a different fix. Attendance is a signal. The conversation tells you what the signal means. Relationships become part of the operating system here. A team leader who asks good questions and listens closely can become a connector inside the business. When one agent has solved a problem another agent is facing, the leader can make the introduction. When the answer sits outside the company, an experienced peer can help the leader test their thinking before they commit the team to a change. Real Edge Network exists to make those experienced relationships easier to reach. Motivated agents and the people who lead them can draw on practical support from people who understand what happens when a decision touches standards, client experience, and the future of the business. You keep your judgment and responsibility for the choice. You gain a wider field of experience when the work gets complicated. That's why we believe no good agent should have to grow alone. The final move is closing the loop. Tell people what you heard. Explain what you're testing, what you're holding, and when you'll check back. If you decline a request, give the business reason. Silence teaches people that speaking up changes very little. A closed loop teaches them that their input enters a real decision process. Closing the loop also protects the leader. You're never promising to approve every request. You're promising to consider the information, make a decision, and communicate it. Agents keep their voice. The business keeps a standard. The relationship stays clear even when the answer is no. Take a look at the last support initiative your team rolled out. Who named the problem? How many people experiencing it were interviewed? What outcome did they want? What changed after the first 30 days? Those questions will tell you whether you built from evidence or from assumption. If this gave you a useful way to review a decision you're carrying, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment telling us which part of the listening loop you're going to test. Share it with another leader who's building support around good people. Before you add the next platform, hire, or training series, have 5 real conversations. Ask what outcome people are trying to reach. Listen for the friction that repeats, then build the response around what the work is telling you. Good leadership starts close enough to hear it.